My name is Sarah Lopez. I'm 32 years old, and I live and work in Chicago. But this story didn't begin here. It began in Boston, in a city where I once believed I had everything a woman could ever ask for: a loving husband, a beautiful daughter, a future that felt unbreakable. I used to think happiness, once earned, stayed forever. I was wrong. 10 years ago, I met Daniel Lopez at a mutual friend's party. I remember standing near the kitchen island, laughing at something someone said, when he walked up and asked if I liked the music. It was such an ordinary question, but the way he looked at me, attentive, calm, genuinely interested, felt different. Daniel wasn't just handsome, he was thoughtful, steady, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. That night, we talked for hours about books, travel dreams, the kind of parents we hope to be someday. He understood me. 2 years later, on an autumn evening, with golden leaves swirling around our feet, Daniel knelt down in the middle of the park and proposed. I laughed and cried at the same time. My yes came out through tears. Our wedding. The following spring was simple: white roses, close friends, soft sunlight filtering through stained glass. It wasn't extravagant, but it was full of love. A year later, our daughter Emma was born. I will never forget holding her for the first time. She was so small, warm, fragile. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine like she was anchoring herself to the world and to me. That moment rewired my heart. Emma grew into the brightest little girl, golden hair that caught the sunlight, blue eyes like summer skies, a laugh that echoed through our house every morning. She loved drawing. Every night she'd hand me scribbled pictures with "I love you, Mommy" written in uneven crayon letters. I kept every single one. We had bedtime stories, Saturday park trips, family picnics by the Charles River. Daniel would push Emma on the swings while she squealed, "Higher, Daddy, higher!" There are sounds you never forget. Her giggle is one of them. Back then, I used to whisper silent thank yous before bed. Thank you for this family. Thank you for this peace. But happiness can be cruel. It lets you relax just before it disappears. In February 2022, everything changed. Emma had been running a high fever for 3 days. At first, we thought it was just the flu. But then came the headaches, the exhaustion, and the bruises. Purple marks blooming across her arms and legs, even her back. She hadn't fallen. She hadn't bumped into anything. That morning, she couldn't even stand without swaying. Daniel and I didn't speak as we rushed her to the hospital. Fear had already settled between us. In the emergency room, they drew blood, ran tests, x-rays, more blood. We sat in the waiting room holding hands so tightly our fingers went numb. After 2 hours, the doctor approached us. I knew before he spoke. "I'm very sorry," he said carefully. "Your daughter has acute leukemia." The world didn't shatter. It went silent. Beside me, Daniel started shaking. I felt my own heartbeat pounding so violently I thought I might pass out. Leukemia, a word too big for a 5-year-old. When we entered Emma's room, she smiled weakly at us. "Mommy, Daddy, I'm going to be okay, right?" I swallowed my terror. "Of course you are, baby," I whispered. "We're right here." After she fell asleep, Daniel and I stepped into the hallway. We needed support. Family. I called my mother, Nancy. I expected shock, tears, urgency. Instead, she sighed. "That's terrible, Sarah, but I'm overwhelmed preparing for a trip with Anthony's family this weekend." I blinked. "Mom, are you coming to see Emma?" "I'll stop by when I have time," she replied. "I have to go." The line went dead. Daniel stared at me. What did she say? I couldn't answer immediately. Anthony's response wasn't better. "That sucks," he texted. "Kids are resilient, though. She'll be fine. Hey, can Jennifer and I drop off Fluffy at your place this weekend? We're traveling." My hands trembled. My daughter had just been diagnosed with cancer, and they were worried about their dog. Daniel wrapped his arms around me. "We focus on Emma," he whispered. But something cold had already started growing inside me, a realization I wasn't ready to face. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most share your blood. And this was only the beginning. For the next 6 months, time stopped meaning what it used to. The calendar still flipped. The seasons still changed outside the hospital windows. But our world shrank to fluorescent lights, sterile hallways, and the soft beeping of machines that measured Emma's fragile body like she was something that might slip away if anyone blinked too long. Chemo became our new routine. So did fear. I learned the smell of antiseptic so well it started following me into my dreams. I learned to read nurses' faces the way some people read weather forecasts, searching for the smallest change that might mean bad news. Daniel took an extended leave from work. I worked remotely, laptop balanced on hospital cafeteria tables, answering emails with one eye on Emma's room and the other on the clock. Emma tried to be brave. That was the cruelest part. Even when her hair started falling out in clumps, she would stroke my face and say, "It's okay, Mommy. Hair grows back." Even when she threw up until her tiny body shook, she'd whisper, "I'm sorry." What kind of child apologizes for being sick? Sometimes she'd wake up at night crying quietly, thinking we were asleep. I'd pretend not to hear at first, because if she thought I was awake, she'd stop crying to protect me. A 5-year-old protecting her mother. And in all that time, I waited for my family to show up. Not with grand gestures, just with presents. But presents, it turned out, was the one thing they couldn't give. My mother came twice. Twice in 6 months. The first time, she stayed 30 minutes, standing near the door like the room itself might contaminate her. "I can't stay long," she said, wrinkling her nose. "Hospitals make me uncomfortable." Emma, pale and weak, still smiled at her. "That's okay, Grandma. I know you're busy." I felt my throat tighten, because Emma was still trying to be loved. Anthony visited once with Jennifer. 15 minutes. That was it. Jennifer complained about the smell of disinfectant, like my daughter's suffering was an inconvenience ruining her mood. "I don't understand why they can't fix that smell," she muttered. "It's awful." Daniel's jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth would crack. After they left, Emma stared at the door and whispered, "Maybe Grandma is scared." I wanted to tell her the truth, that Grandma wasn't scared. Grandma just didn't care enough to stay. But you don't poison a child's heart with bitterness, not when she's already fighting for her life. Instead, I held Emma close and said, "Grandma loves you in her own way." Even as I said it, the lie burned my tongue. And then came the nights when I'd scroll through social media, looking for distraction, only to see pictures of my brother and Jennifer smiling in luxury restaurants, holding designer bags, posing beside a new BMW, like life was a never-ending celebration. Meanwhile, my daughter couldn't even stand without help. The nurses became our family. They learned Emma's favorite cartoons. They brought her stickers. They called her Princess Emma and made her laugh when laughter felt impossible. I started understanding something I'd never wanted to believe. Family isn't blood. Family is who shows up when it hurts. And then, in the summer of 2022, the doctor asked to speak with us privately. Dr. Gordon's eyes were tired, the kind of tired you see in people who've delivered too much bad news in their life. "I'm very sorry," he said softly. "Emma's body isn't responding to therapy. We need to prepare for the worst-case scenario." I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. Daniel pulled me into his arms, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't even cry at first. It was like grief was too big to fit inside my body. When I finally made a sound, it wasn't a sob. It was a broken animal noise that didn't feel human. After Dr. Gordon left, we stood in the hallway holding each other like two people drowning in the same ocean. We decided not to tell Emma, not because we wanted to lie, but because we wanted her last days to be filled with love, not terror. Emma's world became smaller too. More naps, less energy, softer voice. But still she tried to smile. Still she whispered, "I'm okay," as if she could talk herself into believing it. On a quiet afternoon in August 2022, the sun was sinking, painting warm light across her hospital bed. Emma opened her eyes and looked at us like she was memorizing our faces. "You should go home and rest," she whispered. "I'm okay." I shook my head, tears slipping down my cheeks. "No, baby, we're staying." She held my hand, then Daniel's, squeezing with what little strength she had left. Her breath grew uneven. Then she looked at me, her eyes shining like she wanted to tell me something important, something she needed me to remember forever. "I love you both," she whispered. And then, softer, like a secret, "Don't forget to take care of my teddy bear." Those were her last words. In my arms, my daughter, my Emma, went still. Daniel made a sound I will never forget, like his soul cracked open. I sat frozen, staring at her face, waiting for her chest to rise again. It didn't. When the doctors confirmed what we already knew, I picked up my phone with shaking hands. I called my mother first. I thought maybe this would finally wake her up. Maybe now she'd come running. Instead, she sent a text. "So sad. Let me know when you're having the funeral." Anthony's message was worse. "Sorry for your loss. Keep the funeral simple." Simple. Like my daughter's life was a grocery list item. Like she wasn't everything to me. That night, I held Emma's teddy bear until the fabric was damp with my tears. And as grief swallowed me whole, one thought kept echoing in my head. If they could be this cold now, how much colder could they get? I found out soon enough. Because when I called my mother on Friday night to confirm the funeral details, she didn't sound broken. She sounded calm. "Sarah," she said, "I'm calling to let you know I can't make it to the funeral tomorrow." My voice turned thin. What did you just say? We have to go check out venues for Olivia's birthday party. I couldn't process the words at first. Then something inside me snapped. Mom, Emma is your granddaughter. Her response was flat. Emma's gone. Nothing can be done about it now. Olivia is still alive. Her happiness matters. My chest tightened like a fist was squeezing my heart. I whispered, shaking, "You're evil." For a moment, there was silence. Then my mother's voice turned sharp. Don't yell at me, Sarah. We have to move on and take care of the living. Olivia needs a perfect birthday party. That's the family's priority now. I ended the call without another word. Daniel found me shaking on the couch, my phone clutched in my hand like it had burned me. I looked at him and said, "They're not coming." His eyes filled with rage and grief. And in that moment, I realized the funeral wasn't just going to bury my daughter. It was going to bury something else too. Whatever love I'd still been holding for my family. Saturday morning arrived like a gray shadow. The funeral home was filled with white lilies and soft candlelight. Emma's small white casket rested at the center of the room, her favorite teddy bear tucked gently beside her. I stood there in black, holding Daniel's hand, feeling like I was watching someone else's life unfold from far away. People came. Uncle Brandon flew in from California. Old friends, neighbors, a few coworkers. They cried with us, they hugged us, they stayed. But my mother wasn't there. Anthony wasn't there. Jennifer wasn't there. Not even a flower. During the service, I stepped up to read Emma's eulogy. My voice trembled at first, but I forced it steady. I spoke about her laugh, her drawings, the way she used to say "mommy" when she was sleepy. I told everyone she had been brave, braver than most adults I knew. And when I finished, I felt something inside me go quiet. Not healed, just numb. After the service, Uncle Brandon pulled me aside. His jaw was tight with fury. "This is unforgivable," he muttered. "I'm calling them." I nodded. I didn't have the energy to stop him. That night, after everyone left, the house felt terrifyingly silent. I couldn't stand the stillness, so I picked up my phone. And that's when I saw it. Jennifer's latest post. Timestamp the exact hour of Emma's funeral. There they were, my mother, Anthony, and Jennifer, raising champagne glasses at an upscale restaurant downtown. Smiling, laughing. The caption read, "Found the perfect place to throw our baby girl's 3rd birthday. See everyone at the Four Seasons next week to celebrate our little princess." My hands started shaking. While we were burying Emma, they were planning a party. Something inside me hardened in a way it never had before. I took a screenshot and sent it to Uncle Brandon. Then I stood up. "I'm going to Mom's house," I told Daniel. He blocked the door immediately, gripping my arms. "Sarah, no, not like this." "I can't just let this go," I shouted, my voice cracking. "If you go now," he said quietly, "you'll regret what you do." I collapsed against him, sobbing so hard my body shook. That was the moment I made a decision. I would cut them out. Completely. No more calls, no more texts, no more pretending. They had chosen. 1 week later, they showed up at my door. It was Olivia's birthday night. 9 p.m. The knocking was aggressive, rapid, demanding. I opened the door to find my mother, Anthony, Jennifer, and Olivia standing there. Anthony's eyes were red, not from crying, but from anger. They pushed past me without waiting for an invitation. Anthony walked straight toward me. "Are you happy now?" he spat. I blinked. "What are you talking about?" "You ruined Olivia's birthday," Jennifer shrieked. Anthony pointed at my face. "Uncle Brandon called everyone, told them we skipped Emma's funeral for a birthday party. Half the guests canceled. You humiliated us." I stared at him. "That's the truth," I replied evenly. "If you didn't want people to know, you shouldn't have done it." Anthony's lips curled. Then he said the one sentence that changed everything. "You're just jealous because Emma's dead and Olivia's alive." The world turned red. Before I even realized what I was doing, my fist connected with his face. The sound was sickening. He stumbled back, but I didn't stop. Every punch carried 6 months of pain. Every hit carried Emma's last breath. Every blow carried the image of champagne glasses clinking over her grave. Daniel and a neighbor pulled me off him. Anthony lay on the floor, bleeding, teeth broken. My mother screamed. Jennifer dragged Anthony out of the house. Before leaving, he glared at me. "You're going to pay for this." The next morning at 7 a.m., police knocked on my door. 2 officers. "Sarah Lopez?" one asked. "We need you to come with us regarding an assault report." At the station, I didn't lie. "I hit him," I said calmly, but he provoked me. "Do you have proof?" the officer asked. And that's when I remembered. The security cameras. After a break-in scare months earlier, we had installed them throughout the house. I pulled up the footage. It showed everything. Anthony entering aggressively, the accusations, the insult about Emma. The officer's expression changed after watching it. "You were reacting to serious provocation," he said. I was released pending review. 3 days later, my family returned, this time with a lawyer. James Wilson, tailored suit, cold eyes. They didn't enter the house. They stayed on the porch, aware of the cameras. My clients could sue for assault, Wilson said smoothly. 4 broken teeth, career damage. I said nothing. Anthony stepped forward, bruised but smug. We won't sue, he said, if you transfer Emma's trust fund to Olivia. My stomach dropped. Emma's trust fund. $1.5 million. Money my father had left specifically for her. My mother's voice was icy. Emma doesn't need it anymore. Anthony smirked. You can keep $100,000 if you want, for whatever. He didn't even say her name. My daughter had become a financial inconvenience to them. I looked at them, really looked at them. And in that moment, something inside me died. You are not my family, I said quietly. Get off my property. They threatened court. I slammed the door, but I didn't panic, because the entire conversation had been recorded. The next morning, I went to the police station voluntarily. I handed over the footage. The officer listened carefully. This is clear extortion, he said. Within a week, mediation was scheduled. Under legal pressure and facing potential criminal charges, my mother and Anthony backed down. They dropped the assault case. They abandoned the trust fund demand. In exchange, I agreed not to pursue extortion charges. The night before signing the agreement, Daniel sat beside me on the bed. Dragging this out won't bring Emma back, he said softly. He was right. At mediation, I signed the papers without looking at them. Before leaving, I turned to my mother and brother. We're done, I said. You stopped being my family the day you skipped my daughter's funeral. And that was the end, or so I thought, because life has a cruel sense of irony. And karma was only getting started. 1 year after Emma left us, life surprised us in the gentlest way possible. I was terrified the entire pregnancy. Every doctor's appointment felt like a test I was bracing to fail. Every ultrasound made my heart pound so loudly I thought the technician could hear it. But this time the news was different. Healthy, normal, strong heartbeat. And on a quiet spring morning, Emily Lopez was born. When the nurse placed her in my arms, I didn't cry immediately. I froze, because joy felt dangerous. Because loving another child felt like tempting fate. Emily opened her tiny eyes and wrapped her fingers around mine, just like Emma had done 5 years earlier. That's when the tears came. Daniel kissed my forehead and whispered, "She's here. She's safe." But even in that hospital room filled with soft light and newborn warmth, Emma's absence was a third presence between us. At home, we placed a framed photo of Emma in Emily's nursery. Not to replace her. Never that. But to remind ourselves that love doesn't divide. It expands. We started the Emma Lopez Memorial Health Foundation, using the remainder of her trust fund to help families fighting pediatric leukemia. If we couldn't save our daughter, we would help someone else save theirs. That became my anchor, helping other parents in oncology waiting rooms, funding treatments, organizing fundraisers. Pain turned into purpose. Chicago became our fresh start. We sold the Boston house and moved, leaving behind walls that carried too many echoes. In Chicago, I found a new job at a legal consulting firm. Daniel transferred to his company's branch nearby. Emily grew into a bright, healthy little girl with curious eyes and a laugh that slowly began to soften the sharpest edges of grief. Life didn't become perfect, but it became livable until the text arrived. It came from a mutual acquaintance back in Boston. "Have you heard? Olivia has leukemia." The room went cold. I read it twice, then a third time. The same disease, the same monster. Daniel stood behind me, reading over my shoulder. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Olivia was innocent. She hadn't chosen her parents' cruelty. "She's just a child," Daniel said quietly. I nodded. Despite everything, I sent Anthony a short message. "I heard about Olivia. I'm sorry. If you need information about doctors or treatment options, I can help." He never replied. 6 months later, another message came. Olivia had passed away. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the wall for a long time. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel satisfied. I felt sick, because no child deserves that ending. Daniel and I debated attending the funeral. "I don't want to cause a scene," I said. He looked at me carefully. "If we don't go," he said gently, "are we becoming them?" That question settled it. We went, not for my mother, not for Anthony, for Olivia. The funeral home looked hauntingly familiar. White flowers, soft music, a small casket. It felt like stepping back into my own nightmare. I placed a white rose beside Olivia and whispered a prayer. Then I heard shouting. "Anthony." His face was hollow now, not angry, just shattered. "My daughter's dead," he screamed at me. "Are you happy now?" I didn't respond, because I recognized that look in his eyes. It was the same look I saw in the mirror after Emma died. My mother approached next. She looked older, smaller, as if grief had drained the color from her skin. "Are you satisfied?" she asked bitterly. I met her eyes calmly. I never wanted this, I said softly. Then Daniel took my hand and we left. In the car, silence filled the space between us. Do you feel anything? Daniel asked. Yes, I said after a long pause. Sad. Not for them. For the children. Two little girls swallowed by the same disease. After Olivia's funeral, something inside me finally settled. Not forgiveness, but closure. We had both lost daughters, but greed and pride had prevented us from grieving together. Instead, we had become enemies. A month later, Daniel and I decided to fully commit to our new life. Chicago wasn't just a move anymore. It was home. Emily grew older, healthier, stronger. The foundation expanded. Dozens of families received support each year. 3 years passed. Then one afternoon, a text appeared from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Anthony. Mom has leukemia. She doesn't have much time. She wants to see you. The irony almost made me laugh. Leukemia. Again. The disease that had taken both granddaughters. Now it had come for her. I didn't respond immediately. For 2 days, I carried the message like a stone in my pocket. Daniel didn't tell me what to do. He just said, whatever choice you make, I'll stand with you. That night, after Emily fell asleep, I sat alone in my office. Emma's photo stood on my desk. I stared at it for a long time. Would she want me to forgive? Would she want me to protect myself? Finally, I picked up my phone, and I typed, wrong number. My mother and brother died the day they skipped my daughter's funeral. Anthony replied instantly, you're cruel. This is your last chance. I turned off my phone, and for the first time in years, I felt calm, not angry, not triumphant, just resolved. Maybe some people would say I'm heartless. Maybe some would say forgiveness is necessary to heal. But here's what I've learned. Forgiveness is a gift, and not everyone earns it. I chose to protect my peace, to protect my husband, to protect my living child. Emma taught me many things in her short life, but the most important lesson was this: love fiercely. And when people show you who they are, believe them. That's my story. And sometimes I still wonder, was I cruel or was I finally strong?